This is the second time this year already that I have been surprised to go into a film expecting it to be irredeemable, nearly unwatchable garbage, only to walk away pleasantly surprised that it was a decent film. First time was with the Hard Eyes Killer movie, and now this time it's the new Blumhouse flick, Drop. I didn't think this had a chance. I was making fun of this movie on stream quite a bit after watching the trailer because I think the concept is so silly. It's about some I actually just hit like a little sheep bah when I went for that. Man, it's crazy how in recent times I've been having a lot of flubs like that. The movie is about some bad guys airdropping some bad things onto a woman's phone while she's out on a date. And then it becomes a mystery of why are they doing this? And why do they want to hurt my family if I don't follow along with their airdrop instructions? Well, which evolves to text message instructions. Like, to me, that just seems so fucking dumb. Like, what's next? A horror movie about crypto where they find a ghost on the blockchain? Like, this spirit is in the white papers and all of a sudden it starts to haunt someone's boners? Like, it's just stupid. Like, I hate the idea of it, but somehow this movie takes it and actually makes it really interesting. I enjoyed watching this film. Now, side note, before even talking about this movie, giving my review of it, the theater tonight was packed. Just filled to the brim with human beings. Packed like fucking sardines in there. I haven't seen my local theater like that since, the Avengers. It was unbelievable. And I know they weren't there to see Drop, I'll tell you that much. It's the goddamn Minecraft movie. I already know it. Because there were people there already dropping memes. Like, it's cool that people are so excited, but I see all these videos of, like, destruction and pandemonium at the Minecraft showings where everyone just starts yelling and screaming for every meme, throwing popcorn, someone brought in, like, a live chicken, someone body slammed a security guard. Like, it's just havoc and chaos. And tonight, I got to see the theater at max capacity out the wazoo with just this wall of meat waiting to watch Minecraft. Anyway, though, let's talk about Drop. So, as I said, the concept is this lady has gone through a very traumatic experience in her past, and now she's finally getting out into the dating world. She's got a date with a man she's met from an app, and they go to a fancy restaurant, and while on this date, she gets some really interesting memes airdropped to her on her phone during the date, and it's really disruptive, and it's kind of creepy. And then it evolves into something sinister when the person airdropping it instructs them that they must kill their date, or else her son will be killed. So then it becomes a thriller about her trying to keep her son alive by doing what the bad guys are saying to do, while also trying to piece together who in this fucking restaurant is doing this. Now, the movie doesn't do anything new, but it does what it wants to well. It's even shot really well. I didn't expect any kind of, like, decent cinematography or anything, but they kind of went hard for some of the shots here. Even though I don't think they needed to, they still did just for the sake of it, which was cool. It helped make the movie even more stylistic and fun. But like I said, it doesn't do anything new from, like, a storytelling perspective or anything that happens in here being super unique. But it is a similar vibe to something like Phone Booth, which I really, really liked. I don't think it's as good as Phone Booth, but it has that same feeling, and I appreciated that. It does a good job of putting a lot of moving parts here and gets you invested enough in this date and what she's going through, where she has to balance, like, keeping her son alive by doing what these bad guys want her to do, while also making sure her date doesn't leave, because if he leaves, her son dies. So it's like this balancing act where she's trying to keep it all together and she can't tell anyone what's happening, so she has to try and keep her date there even through all of this, because if he leaves, her son dies. So it does a good job. But I will say, you have to really suspend some disbelief for some of this, because throughout the film, she's leaving her date in the dust multiple times. Like, she's gone for like 5-10 minutes sometimes, like excusing herself to the bathroom. She has her date go on like a fucking scavenger hunt looking for a watch. It's a complete disaster, yet he sticks around the entire time, whereas most sensible people would be like, okay, I'm out of here. There is clearly something wrong here, and his character even points it out multiple times, saying like, okay, this is getting weird. And at one point, he even does, like, he closes out the bill, he pays for the meal, and he is leaving, but then she convinces him to stay, and he stays again through all of this, which continues to happen, whereas reasonably you would expect him to have left, because he'd be like, okay, this is a dangerous person here, this person is unhinged, if I continue with this, I might be, at the end of the night without my kidney or some shit. but he stays, and it is a bit of a stretch how she is able to keep him hooked here on this date through all this. But it's not the biggest deal. Like, I didn't ruin it for me. It just, sometimes you'd be like, okay, that's a little much. There's no way he'd stay after that, but he does. Now, I do like the way the film is written. It's not too obvious what's going on here or who's doing it. It presents you with a lot of moving parts and a lot of things to keep track of. Also, the date's not like a lobotomite. Like, he is a smart guy who picks up on some pretty subtle things that have gone wrong too. So it is a pretty well written film in that regard. But the final act is a huge ass pull. Let's get into spoilers. People have been saying they want me to talk more about spoilers when it comes to these reviews, so spoiler warning, here it comes. When she does figure out who at this restaurant is keeping their peepers on her, because throughout the film it's like nearly omniscient. Like, whoever is texting her and airdropping her these things can hear and see everything she's doing everywhere in this facility. She eventually finds out who it is, and she sits down to confront him, and he just vomits everything. It is an exposition overload. He explains all of the motives behind it right to her face, and he is a full-blown fucking red alert fedora tipping Redditor. This dude, he even says, I shit you not, I'm playing chess and you're playing like Yahtzee. As he's going over like how he's been 2 steps ahead of her this whole time, this and that. Well, surprise, surprise, turns out she pulls a fast one on him, the tables turn, and now it turns into like this pseudo-action film where there's still this ticking clock where her kid is still on the hook to be murdered at home because the bad guy still has a bad guy there. So there's clearly an amount of time she has to get the police over there to save her son while also surviving this guy who now pulls a gun out on her. And now she's like kind of running away from him, and he does like classic movie villain stuff where he's like holding the gun at her and he continues to just fucking vomit, like trauma dumping his own shit onto her. And she eventually turns things around, and that's when you see that shot from the trailer where she like blows open the glass, and it's like an airlock opening in space. Everyone just gets sucked out. That's when that happens, and I think that whole scene was just pretty bad. But what followed after was a really huge ass pull, because before that happened, he did call the other guy. Well, he got a call from the other guy and told him, kill the kid and her sister who was babysitting. So once that call gets locked in, she only has like a couple of minutes to go from that restaurant to her house. Now, this restaurant is on the top floor of a very high building, and she is not that close to her house, so how the fuck would she go from that restaurant there? And she does it herself. She has the police called by her date, but she herself takes her car and fucking floors it there, and you see a bunch of scenes of her like weaving out of traffic and trying to get there in time. And somehow she does, before the bad guy kills the kid or the babysitter. Like, there's a couple of scenes to explain that the babysitter like fights back kind of against this trained assassin. Like she hits him with like a vase, and then she closes a door and he can't get into the door. She bites his arm, and then she even gets shot by the guy, but it was a non-fatal shot. The kid's able to escape, and then somehow the mom's able to get there in, I guess, 5 minutes. Like, the passage of time there was so messy that it was really just kind of sad, because everything else that preceded this like last final act was pretty solid. Like, all of it pretty believable, pretty well written. But this at the end is like, okay, we've really kind of gone off the rails here. There is no way there was enough time for her to go from there to here and still keep everyone safe and then still beat the bad guy. You know what I mean? So that was a little rough. But everything else I actually thought was pretty solid. And it's not even that I hate the final act, it's just it was a lot sloppier than everything that preceded it. It then also stopped doing all the cool shots and cool cinematography and just fell into like a really generic, formulaic, like action piece. But everything else was good. Overall, I enjoyed watching Drop. I thought this was going to be trash, but I thought it might be fun bad. Turns out it's neither trash nor is it fun bad. It's just a pretty fun movie. So that was cool. That's really about it. So yeah.